All right, this is my pre-calculus lab where we're solving trig equations, and I've done previous videos for 7 and 8, so I'm going to start at number 9 for this one here. So this page is in degrees, and they want us to find all the angles that can make this equation true or equal to 0, if you will. So for number 9, I see that it's a quadratic. It's already set up nicely, so it's equal to 0, so I'm going to stack and rack and say, whoops, I just hit it with my hand. Back to 9 is stack and rack and say A equals, B equals, C equals, and D equals. So A is 3, B is -7, C is 2. And when I do B squared minus 4AC for number 9, I get a nice number 25. So I'm going to say cosine of theta equals -B plus or minus the square root of 25 all over 2A or 6. Then we're going to add and subtract. And 7 plus 5 over 6 is 2. And 7 minus 5 over 6 is 1/3. So let's put that in here. So I'm all set here. Now I look at it and I want to find where all my angles are. Well, you have the first equation is the cosine of theta equals 2. So I'm going to do inverse cosine of 2 and put it in my calculator. And when I do, I get undefined or error. Because remember, cosine and sine are not any greater than 1 or any lower than -1. The values lie between -1 and 1. So it doesn't exist there. So I can say, well, thanks for playing. That doesn't really help me at all, but I don't have to worry about that part. The second one, I'm going to do inverse cosine of 1/3. And when I do that, remember, cosine is positive in quadrants 1 and in quadrants 4. So remember, your calculator is only going to give you one of those. It's only going to give you the one in quadrant 1 at 71 degrees. So now I have to take 360 and subtract the 71. And when I do, I get 289. So for this problem right here, I only have two angles that make this correct, is 71 degrees and 289 degrees. Sometimes you have 4 answers, sometimes you have 6, sometimes you have 2, sometimes you have none. It just depends on how it goes. All right, so let's look at number 10. Number 10 is also a quadratic, and I could actually set up the quadratic formula for this, but this one's an easy one actually to factor. So I'm going to factor this. So I'm going to factor out a sine theta because it's an easy one to do. So I have 5 sine theta plus 4 equals 0. And then I'm going to put each piece equal to 0. So I have sine theta equals 0, 5 sine theta plus 4 equals 0, 5 sine theta equals -4, sine theta equals -4 over 5. Okay, so here we go. I've had the forethought to set up my little 4 quadrants over here. So the first thing I see is says sine theta is 0. So I know that if it's sine or cosine, if it's a 0, 1, or -1, it's probably on a quadrant. So I'm trying to think, where is sine 0? Well, if I look over here, I have the point 1, 0. There's sine 0, and I have -1, 0. So 0 degrees and 180. If you put inverse sine of 0 in your calculator, you are going to get 0 degrees. You just got to make sure that you check all the 4 quadrants. So 180 works as well, and 0. So I have 0 degrees and 180 degrees works for that part. Now, here's where I want to spend a little bit of time. If you'll see right here, this is a negative answer. So I said, all right, my ratio is negative. I know sine is negative in quadrants 3 and 4. That means my angle has to be in quadrants 3 and 4. So what I want you to do is actually put in the positive value. So you're going to do inverse sine of a positive 4/5. This will give you your reference angle that I can use to find in there. So when I put inverse sine of positive 4/5, I get a 53 degrees, and it's a reference angle. Remember that, because that's not where the angle is. It's in these two quadrants. 53 degrees is there. So I basically am going to do 180 plus 53, which would be 233 degrees. And then I'm going to do 360 minus 53, and I'm going to get 307. That's where I get those two. So that's the trick on that. So now I have 4 angles here. So we're going to put here, I had 0 degrees worked. The next one we got was 180 degrees. That worked. 233 degrees. That worked. And 307 degrees. The 53 degrees I just used to find those two angles. All right, here's number 11. So when I look at this one right here, I say I'm going to cross multiply and see if I can get this in a different form. So I've got 2 tangent squared theta minus 7 tangent theta. So I just kind of multiplied them both by tan theta equals 4. Now I see it's a quadratic, so I'm going to move everything over to one side, put it equal to 0 so I can solve it. Minus 4 equals 0. Now when I get here, I'm going to stack and rack the quadratic formula. C, D, try not to get any other problem. So I get A is 2, B is negative 7, C is negative 4, and when I do B squared minus 4AC, I get 81. Okay? So now I'm going to do this. Tan theta is negative B plus or minus the square root of 81 all over 4, because it's 2A. Here's my plus and my minus. So I get a 4 here, and here I get a 1/2. Okay? So in my calculator, I'm going to do inverse tan of 4. When I put that in my calculator, I get 76 degrees. And that's here, so I know tangent is positive here and here. So where else am that going to be? Well, I've got to do 180 plus 76, and when I do, I get 256. So for this part of it, I get 2 angles. Now this one is inverse tan of a half, so I'm going to do inverse tan of a half. It's still positive, so I'm still in quadrant 1. When I do inverse tan of a half, I get 27 degrees, which is still here in quadrant 1. I have to find the other one that's in quadrant 3, so I'm going to do 180 plus the 27 degrees, and when I do that, I get, I'm looking at the wrong one here. Oh, this is a negative 1/2. That's what I thought. So if I do inverse tan of a half, that's my reference angle. Sorry. This is a negative 1/2. So if my reference angle, so I know that tan is negative here and here. That's my fault. I'm sorry. So now what I'm going to do is take that reference angle. I'm going to do 180 minus 27. So I'm going to get 153 degrees, which is in quadrant 2. And then I'm going to do 360 minus 27. So there's my 333 degrees. Sorry about that mix up. So now I'm going to put this in here. I have my first angle is 76 degrees. I kind of go all the way around. Well, the first one was 27 degrees. Okay. That was my reference angle. Again, I apologize. So it's 76 degrees. The next one is going to be 153 degrees, 256 degrees, and then I've got 333 degrees. So I have 76, 153, 256, and 333 for number 11. And I think I'm going to do, that's all I'm going to do for this one because I just made a couple mistakes. So be careful right here. When this is negative, put the positive one in your calculator, find your reference angle, and then find it. Okay? Then find your angles. So I hope this helps.